Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Today we're going to be making this lamp, so follow along and see how we do it. So first of all, we're going to start with a cube. We're going to scale it down to about there and about there. Okay, so what we need to do is just add in another cube, scale that to about there, I reckon, maybe a bit more. So this is all going to be made out of wood. I'm just going to grab that top and just pull it up to about there, I want to say. And then what we can do, we can just duplicate, so Shift D, rotate X 90, let's pull it to about there, I reckon. I'm just going to scale it into the size there so we don't get no battles between the faces. And then we're going to create another one, Shift D on the Z. Let's just scale that down, rotate it on the X by 45 degrees. And then we can just push that in there. Let's just scale that down a little bit there. There we go. Next we need what do we need? A torus. I'm going to rotate Y 90, scale that right the way down. That's where the lamp's going to be. So let's just zoom in there. Let's just scale that down a bit more, like so, and then just duplicate on the Z. Rotate Z 45, Shift D on the Z, rotate Z 45. And then just bring that down a bit. Then we're going to create another cube. This is going to be for the lamp. So let's just scale that down to about there. Just bring those down a bit. Let's just bring that across so it's in the center. And then what we can do is just shape it up. So we can just make it a bit longer. Go to edit, put a loop cut in, bring it up, scale it on out. Take that top and scale that on in. Bring it up. Like so, until you're happy with the design. Just going to scale that on in a bit. So that's our lamp, and then what we can do is select the faces and like inset. I guess we could extrude on the Y just slightly. Don't think anything happened on that one, so extrude on the Y. Oh, looks like we duplicated the face. Extrude on the Y, yeah. Okay, that one inset. Here, inset, inset, extrude on the Y, extrude on the Y, extrude on the X, extrude on the X, inset, inset, extrude on the X, extrude on the X. Okay, if you're happy with that, that is all tickety boo. Now we've got to create the, I'll tell you what we're going to do, we're going to make it a little bit more, we're going to put a loop cut in and then just like give it a little bit of Control R, change it to local, just give it a little bit of oldness, Control R, oh, Control R, edit. I'm going to do one there and just bring it down, just kind of bring it in there, and then maybe one up here, just to make it a little bit rickety. Let's just take that back in to here and up a bit. Okay, once you're happy with your design, let's go into, so this one, let's just Control A and all the scales, reset the scales. Okay, so this one we're going to add a material, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go into shader editor, and then we're going to create some kind of wood material. Okay, so first of all we need a Musgrave, M-U-S, Musgrave texture. So we need 2 of those. So just Shift D to duplicate. We need Control T so we get our mapping up. So then we need to play around with the scales later. Then we need this height into vector. So we're linking the 2 Musgraves together. Next we need a color ramp. So on there, and we're going to Shift D, duplicate that. We also need a bump map. So Shift A, bump. Chuck that one in here. So height is going into there, height is going into here. Color is going into height, and then normal to normal, and color to base and subsurface. Okay, let's just check it out. So you can see here we got something going on, not exactly what we want at the moment. So the base color, we can change this to a brown. So you can see it changing there. And then the white we want probably to a darker brown. Let's just change that one to a lighter. I mean, this sort of thing, you know, you have to mess about with to get exactly what you're after. I'm going to change that to cycles, GPU, denoise. Okay, so let's just mess about here. And then what we can do in the scale is bring it down on the Y, and then bring it down on the Z. So you can mess about with this all you like. Until you get exactly what it is you're after. Okay, and then this one we need to swap these two over. Okay, because obviously this will give you your bump map. Okay, now if you're happy with that, we can just copy it onto there, copy it onto there, to give a nice little bit of a wood effect. I quite like that. Right, what we also can do actually is if we go into tab, we can put a couple of loop cuts on there. Let's just move them along, select the faces, and then we can scale, or E and scale them out. Those can be grey, like a metal grey. Need to assign that. And then maybe one here. Control R, couple of loop cuts, bring them down. Maybe move one up. Like so. Select all the faces, E and S. And then we can create another new one, again a grey. Assign that, like so. So we're quite happy with that. These obviously need to be like a metallic. Actually, we could just duplicate that onto there, duplicate it onto there. The lamp needs to be, well, the lamp, you could do any of it, whatever colour you like. So we're just going for like a dark wood kind of colour like that. And then go into edit, select these faces. Oh. And then we're going to do those yellow, because that's what a lamp is, yellow. Like so, and just assign. Might just change it to an emission. That looks better. So you can either leave it like that, just your block. You can obviously have grey. And then if you wanted to, you can create little blocks around it. Let's just go into there. So that maybe we can just subdivide it. Subdivision. Edit. Put a couple of loop cuts in. Scale on the Y. And again, scale on the X. Just to give it a bit of shape. And then we can just shift D on the Y, and then you can do these. So what we want to do is do scale, but not on the Z, so shift C. So we want to keep it the same height, and then you can just make it the same sort of size. Maybe you could have like 3, Shift D on the X, Shift D on the X, something like that. And you can obviously make that into a little scene if you wanted to. Shift D on the Y, Shift D, rotate Z 90, and then you can just Shift D on the Y, Shift D on the Y, and maybe just Shift D on the X, and then just sort of make them a little bit random, because let's face it, it probably wasn't full on square at the back in the day. That probably isn't these days in your town centre. And then obviously you can make it as big as you like or as small as you like. And then we go to render, and then if you wanted to, you could just chuck in some Shift A, maybe a little cheeky little lamp in there. Point, I want to say. In fact, you could probably just Shift D on the Y, and then select both of those. Shift D, rotate Z 90. So you got a little bit of light in. Let's just turn down the world lighting. Let's just chuck in, and you can see because we put the bump in, we've actually got the wood grain in there. So Shift A, and I know I like to chuck in a little cheeky little plane, just to scale it up, sort of thing. Switch everything off, and NT to get rid of that. And there's our cheeky little lamp, our stylized old age lamp. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video today. If you did, don't forget, give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And we will see you on the next video. Thanks for watching. Ta-da.